Welcome to Israel Today. This is Rabbi Roger coming to you from Israel. Well, as the holiday of Passover continues on and Israel is moving into the middle of this feast, the rest of the Middle East is still plotting on how to destroy Israel. Of course, nothing can happen unless the Lord wills it. For he who touches Israel touches the apple of his eye. For behold, I will wave my hand over them so they will be plunder for their slaves. Then you will know that the Lord of hosts has sent me. So does that mean Israel will never see war? The answer is no. I never said Israel is perfect, nor does she not deserve to be reprimanded. After all, the rabbis in this country allow blatant sin. However, that's not to say that all Israel is bad. We do offer humanitarian aid whenever and wherever we can, and have even offered it to Iran in a great time of need, knowing the outcome would be a flat no. So when you look at the news or the status of these other countries in the Middle East, you have to wonder, how can someone live like that? However, to the other extreme, there are a lot of people that really are good in both heart and mind. Of course, I'm talking about someone that chooses not to listen to their country's leader or read the Quran. Let me give you an example. There were two Palestinian youth about 19 years old that are not associated with each other. Very recently, one was hailed as a martyr and role model for Palestinian teens after he murdered an IDF soldier and a rabbi with 12 kids. Then in the midst of gunfire, he too was killed. A few years ago, another youth had his life threatened for loving the nation and people of Israel. He saw the error within the Palestinian lifestyle and stood up for what was right, refusing to be a part of it. He eventually had to flee the country for a short time, where he too would become a statistic. So what is the difference between the two? Without knowing both of these personally, I can tell you what I believe is the real difference. It is called mind control and is fed through a screen called a television that easily brainwashes the youth with children's programming, teaching them to hate the Jewish people. The Arab schools also help to brainwash the youth in the same manner, plus teach them how to act out as young jihadists. The parents in the homes are not always perfect, and in the midst of their dysfunction, add incest, anger, and hatred along with it. So by the time a youth is a teenager, they do not know what to do with all this aggression and anger that is bottled up inside of them. They are not taught to love, but to hate. If you watch the news, you will notice the majority of the riots are with the youth, not the older people. I think that it is obvious who was raised and how. The same is true in America. If you're raised in dysfunction, you will live in dysfunction because it is all you know. It is familiar to you, and that is why it's called a familiar spirit. So pray that the Lord intervene more and more in these last days so that none will perish without a lack of knowledge. Pray that the Lord would raise someone up who would be willing to stand up for what is right and teach the youth to be more loving and peaceful rather than filled with anger and hate. If you want to get in touch with us or get on our mailing list, visit branchofisrael.com. That's branchofisrael.com. Again, this is Rabbi Roger coming to you from Israel. Thank you so much for listening. Lehitrot, goodbye, or see you again.